So the parts for my Mac Mini Hackintosh finally arrived. So last time I showed you my Mac Mini and I told you that I ordered a few parts. And first part is the main board, the H110T. And some of you in the comments might not have believed that it actually fits the case. In this video I will show you that it does, and we will do some first fittings to see how sort of things could work out together. Also got some smaller parts, so for example some 512GB SSD. It's not NVMe because I couldn't find any of these small ones, so it's actually NVMe, but I know they exist, so maybe they just were not available. So in here we have some white LEDs. Next up we have the CPU cooler. It's very small, but let's see whether it will actually fit inside here, because you can see already the box is larger than the entire Mac Mini case. So that might be a challenge. So I unboxed the RAM off camera because it had my contact information written on it quite big. So this is not your 32GB of DDR4, it's actually just 16 because it's used, and the guy just sent me the 16. Next up we have the power supply. Oh, this has a bad joke on it. Also says designed in Germany. I bet it's manufactured in China though. So this is the power brick. It has 90 watts, which should be more than enough for our small mini computer. And we can actually start by doing some basic fitting. Or let's start with the main board. Let's see if it fits at all. And I was told it does, so I guess that's right. So this is the cute little main board, and let's just see whether we can actually fit it inside. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's see if it fits all the way. And it does. So this is the CPU cooler, and inside here we have the bottom plate, which is important to keep in mind because it adds another like maybe 3 to 5 millimeters in height. And then we also have the actual CPU cooler. As you might tell, it's quite the tiny piece of equipment, but let's see how it actually fits. In reality, this would sort of work out like this, that we have our bottom plate and our CPU cooler, kind of like this. Of course, the screws are screwed in, but that kind of means that we get some additional height. And at that point you can clearly even see on camera that it sticks out way too far. So that in itself wouldn't necessarily be an issue if it only sticks out in the middle. If we sort of just primitively take the CPU cooler and put it appropriately where it would be, like where the holes would line up, we kind of have this situation. And as you might see, that's a bad situation. It's not terrible, but it's bad because this mounting screw is definitely too large to fit under the metal. So the first thing that we definitely have to do is find a smaller screw. But I think that might be possible. I just need to look up what kind of screws these are. And the next thing then is, even with that, if you look from the top, you can see that actually on here, this piece of sticking metal, this piece of metal that kind of sticks out here so that we can actually screw in the bottom plate, that kind of overlaps with the CPU fins. But I don't think that's necessarily a problem because we still have this screw mount and this screw mount down here. So I think what we can do is take a saw this part off and then just use these two mounting screws. So yeah, that's how it could fit. I hope it actually will fit that way. And so let's talk about the next steps. So the next steps will be for me to, unfortunately, buy a 3D printer. I think having a 3D printer will be excellent, but it will of course cost some money. So yeah, let's buy the 3D printer. And one thing that I forgot to mention before we buy the 3D printer, yes, I'm aware that we are missing the CPU of the entire build, and I'm also aware that we are missing the power on and power off switch. So I did a little bit of research on which 3D printer to buy. So I came up with the Anycubic i3 Mega S. It's supposed to be a very good printer, and especially so for beginners. It comes with a heated bed, it has easy to use software apparently, and it just has overall quite good print quality. And it's also not that hard to assemble or set up. So yeah, I had that plan, and then today I found out that it's actually sold out. So my initial plan was to buy it from the manufacturer. They have some warehouse here in Germany, and they would have sold it for 250 euros, but unfortunately it sold out, so I had to switch gears. One option would be to buy it on Amazon. It's actually still the manufacturer that sells it on Amazon, but it's 370 euros on Amazon. That's due to Amazon just having a lot better return policies, a lot better customer service and these kind of things. So a lot higher standards on their sellers. So they need to add a little bit of price. But to be honest, I'm not sure whether like the 120 euros just for buying it on Amazon, whether that's something that I'm comfortable spending on. Additionally, I bought something on Amazon a few weeks ago and it still didn't arrive. Of course, currently we have different circumstances. I also bought something after that a few days ago and it arrived on time. Amazon currently does this thing where they are prioritizing certain items, and that also means on the flip side though that they're deprioritizing certain other items. And I think this 3D printer might be something that's not very high priority for them. So the other option would be to buy a different printer altogether. For example, the Mega Zero, also from Anycubic, and it's significantly cheaper, almost 100 euros, something like that. It does, however, come with a few flaws. It's supposed to be a good printer as well, but it doesn't have a heated bed. It's a lot more difficult to assemble, and the print accuracy is supposedly also less. That led me to do some further research, and I found the Creality 3D Ender 3, which is a little bit more expensive than the Mega Zero, but it's still less expensive than the Mega S, and it does come with a heated bed. And yes, it also requires a lot of assembly, which I'm fine with, but also if you assemble it correctly, apparently the accuracy is a little bit higher than the Mega Zero. So yeah, that's the 3D printer that I finally decided on buying. Additionally, I will be buying some black PLA filament, 750 grams. I hope that's enough for our project or for our purposes, but let's see on that. So yeah, initially I wanted to print all of this in my university, but due to the circumstances, of course, that's not possible. I think owning a 3D printer might also enable different other interesting projects in the future, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting that 3D printer. So for the project to come, next video will probably be getting the 3D printer, doing some first test prints, maybe doing some 3D modeling, these kind of things. And if you like the project, if you like me building the Mac Mini, then I hope you will subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Servus.